bird of prey 5. Hail Karuga! Kapla! Kapla!
I'm going to take this opportunity, however, to suggest that we all hail Karuga. That's all I'm saying.
Forgive me, Doctor. I'm receiving a number of distress calls. I don't doubt it.
Y'all remember to tip your waitresses. Have a mighty fine night.
If you come in peace, surrender or be destroyed. If you're here to make war, we surrender.
Both good. The important thing is I'm meeting new people.
When the appointed hour arrives, the Marauders will deactivate the token, transporting Klingon shock troops directly to the landing zone.
Landing zone? Where? Tell me.
Why not? Your feeble weapons will be useless against us. We will kill all your males and take your females to mate with.
All right. Now the Federation's taking over, whether you like it or not. You people, you've been running this planet like a piecework factory. From now on, it's going to be under one roof. You're going to run it like a business. And that means you're going to make a profit.
Look at these 3 words written larger than the rest, with a special pride never written before or since. Tall words, proudly saying, "We the people."
Hi, I'm Nicole DeBoer. I played Lieutenant Ezri Dax on DS9, and I welcome you to Bird o' Prey 5 channel. Hail Karoga.
Hello world, it's Bird o' Prey 5, Cup Claw, and welcome to Bed Life for October 2nd, Monday, October 2nd, 2023. And today would have been the 104th birthday of the late, great Sidney E. Frank, my former boss, billionaire, philanthropist, all around good guy. A bit of a character. If he was poor, people might consider him crazy, but he was rich, so he was kindly referred to as eccentric. Really, really interesting guy. One of my first missions he put me on after hiring me was to go to Toys R Us. Go to Toys R Us and buy some games, buy some toys, because he was interested in what the kids were playing with these days. And I got to tell you, that was right up my alley. Although it happened to be right around the 2000s, right around the year 2000, when Lego really wasn't a very popular toy at the time. So I did not bring any Legos back in my haul from Toys R Us that particular week. I brought some random things, and I don't think we ended up using most of it, since we were a liquor importing company and not a toy company so much. But he was just curious as to what was out there. He wanted to see it, and I get it. He wanted to know. He wanted to see the technology that was available to him that he probably didn't get to see on a daily basis. So it was actually a pretty cool assignment to have. Of course, at the time, I just thought he was a little too eccentric for his own good, but he at that point he was only a millionaire. The billionaire came later, so certainly showed us uh, who was laughing. Who was laughing a couple of years later? It wasn't us. Uncle Remus, first in the chat, says, "But what about Sidney M. Frank?" Since I titled today's stream "Remembering Sidney E. Frank," I can assure you nobody gives a shit about Sidney M. Frank, whoever the F that person was. Richie Poole says Grey Goose, vodka, and an alpaca or two. Indeed, Sidney E. Frank, the creator of world famous Grey Goose vodka, which he then sold to Bacardi for over $2.2 billion. That was 7 years. The brand was only 7 years old. Now, okay, for 2023, and for computer brands or Silicon Valley tech giants, 7 years old, $2 billion, that's par for the course. But in the year 2000 or 2004, when this deal actually went down, a 7-year-old non-tech company going for $2 billion, unheard of at the time and almost still unheard of today. That's when $2 billion in 2004 dollars was actually worth $2 billion and not, 100 million like it would be considered today. And the Random Menace with his 36-month friend of Karoga super chat. The Random Menace is greetings from the future. I think this one deserves a Kissing Dax celebration. And I'm sure it does. But unfortunately, the way it works out, the 36-month or whatever month super chat doesn't get to trigger a Kissing Dax. But we could manually trigger it. I could manually trigger it later on. Words and Pictures says, I'm wondering if the stream has already started, but Bird of Prey 5 is cloaked, so we don't know. No, it hadn't started. Sci-Fi Mombi says, hello, everyone. Applause, Sci-Fi Mombi. Elihu says, can't join you. About to report for jury duty. Well, I hope the jury duty goes well. Hakeem says, Grey Goose is not my favorite vodka. Vodka is, but I'll have a drink in his honor. No worries, Hakeem. No worries. Jedi Bill says, Kapla, Brother Warrior, Bird of Prey 5, and all should hail Karoga. Thank you, Jedi Bill. Dan Ben says, I've never heard of Sidney E. Frank ever. Dan Ben, you had to have heard of Sidney E. Frank if you've been to this stream, because I've been talking about Sidney E. Frank since I've started this stream. So, and Schwario says, who is Sidney E. Frank? Well, you should literally type in who is Sidney E. Frank into YouTube, and you'll get a video It says, "Who is Sidney E. Frank?" Well, you're about to find out. And it's from the Golf Channel, the Golf Network. And I uploaded it to YouTube myself under several fake names back in the day, uh, while in the employ of Mr. Frank. It's actually a very nice, very short video, like, I don't know, 6 or 8 minute video explaining who he is and some famous people he happened to be meeting up with at the time. A certain, actually, two past presidents of separate parties, but at the time they were good friends. Schwario says, Kapla, Bird, hope you and the family are doing well today. Schwario, thank you. Mom will pray and I are okay. It's not the best day for family stuff, but sis will pray, nephew will pray. They are good. They are good. I have an uncle that could use some prayers today. And Shrios says Kapla to you all. And Kapla, Bird, and hail to the chat. Says Hakeem, Kapla Hakeem. 47 Yorktown says, hello, young sir. Hello, 47. Gorilla's Random Thought says Kapla, Kapla, Gorilla. Shrario says, oh no, I ate the last Cheeto. Oh no, never eat the last Cheeto. John DeMarco says, greetings, all greetings, John. Dan Van says, is this something to do with Frank Sinatra? No, Sidney E. Frank. And you know what? Let's just bring it up. Sidney E. Frank. If you go to Wikipedia, Sidney Frank. Sidney E. Frank, born October 2nd, 1919, passed away January 10, 2006. He passed away on a plane in flight from San Diego. Was supposed to land in Vancouver, Canada. That's where I was. We were waiting for him to land, but he actually had some type of heart attack while on the plane, and they ended up doing an emergency landing in San Francisco, California. He was already dead. He was already dead when they landed, but they took him to the hospital anyway, where he was pronounced dead and put back on the plane and returned back to San Diego that night. And we all had to get from Vancouver back to San Diego. And then the next night we got from San Diego to New York, and it was a crazy, crazy time. They hired an entire JetBlue plane to fly us all back. Now, not the body. The body went back on the private plane, but his staff and his entourage and some random people from San Diego that wanted to go to New York for the official memorial service. They all got on the JetBlue flight that the company hired. Now it wasn't official JetBlue. It didn't go through the airport. It went through the private air terminal at the airport. So we got on the plane like it was a private plane. We didn't go through like it was a chartered plane. We didn't go through the terminal. But and then when we landed at LaGuardia, at the time, JetBlue, I believe, did not have a facility, either a facility ready or a facility at all, perhaps at LaGuardia back in 2006 when we landed. So they just kind of opened the gate and let us out. Let us out. Luckily, um, I had I forget. I guess I got a taxi or something to get home, because yeah, I was one of the only people getting out of the plane who actually lived in New York City at the time. Everyone else lived in California. Anyway, an American businessman and philanthropist, he became a billionaire through his promotion of Grey Goose vodka and Jägermeister. Well, no, he became a billionaire solely through Grey Goose. Granted, he wouldn't have had the money to create Grey Goose if not for his involvement in Jägermeister, but the $2.2 billion came solely from his sale of Grey Goose vodka to Bacardi. Jägermeister was just a good living. Jägermeister made him maybe $50 million a year, whereas Grey Goose vodka towards the sale was probably also making him around 50 million a year. But then he sold that for 2 billion because he didn't own Jägermeister. We just had the rights to import it. Early life. Frank was born into a Jewish family in Montville, Connecticut. His father and mother were Abraham and Sarah Frank. He grew up in Norwich, Connecticut, and graduated from the Norwich Free Academy in 1937. He attended Brown University, class of 1942, but left because he could only afford 1 year of tuition. He later made an enormous gift to the university to help ensure that no student would ever be forced to leave Brown because of inability to pay tuition. During World War II, Frank worked for Pratt & Whitney as a manufacturer's representative in India, exploring ways to improve engine performance, enabling aircraft to deal with the high altitudes encountered in the CBI theater. This was particularly important in improving the performance of transport aircraft supplies into China. The use of alcohol injection for aircraft engines was one of the approaches taken. And I'll tell you, his entire life, he always had a fascination with aircraft, and even in his dying days and the years immediately before that, one of his biggest philanthropy moves, other than giving money to Brown University, was giving money to set up a museum, fund a museum, an entire section of a museum of the London Science Museum to be dedicated to the man who created the Spitfire aircraft that was instrumental in the Battle of Britain, protecting people in London from the Nazis bombing them in World War II, the Spitfire aircraft, and also the American and other pilots from other countries who signed up to fly for the Air Force of Great Britain before the United States and other countries actually declared war on Germany. The UK had planes but needed pilots. And so some American pilots went ahead and volunteered. And Mr. Frank paid for many of these people to go back to the UK to visit back in 2005. It was one of the things we did. I was out there and we were taking one of the last groups of people, since very few pilots were still alive. And even those who were alive, most weren't in condition to travel internationally. So we got one of the last groups of people willing to travel to the UK to just to remember what they had done, half a lifetime ago, and they were there with their children or their grandchildren, and they were being thanked by famous, very famous people in the UK, and it was a really special time and a really special thing. And Mr. Frank wanted to make sure those people got the respect which they deserved. And I would venture to say they did get it. And it was really cool to be a part of that in some way. Let's see, under career, they have Frank's first wife, Louise Skippy Rosensteel, was the daughter of Louis Rosensteel, founder of Schenley Industries, one of the largest American distiller and spirit importers. Frank joined Schenley after his marriage and rose to the company presidency, but was forced out in a family dispute in 1970. So I remember Mr. Frank told me this advice personally. He told it to many people, but he told it to me personally as well. He said, "Joe, the easiest way to make your first million is to marry it." And that is what he did. He made his first million by marrying it. Now, I have no reason to think he didn't love his first wife. I'm sure he did. She was attractive. She was rich. She was the whole package. But at some point, Mr. Frank was not a perfect man. He was a man, but he wasn't a perfect man. His wife was getting older, and other women were not. And unfortunately, Mr. Frank decided to look at the younger models, and his secretary later became his second wife. And more unfortunate and unrelated, I'm sure, to his eye getting the best of him, his first wife also ended up having cancer and ended up passing away soon after things fell apart. So yeah, he was working for his first wife's family, and when he told her, when it was clear he was no longer going to be with the first wife, and more unfortunately, when it turned out she had cancer, and things were not going to end well. Her father was like, not only am I firing you, I am blackballing you from the entire fucking industry. And Mr. Frank had a choice to make, and his choice was go somewhere else or put up all the money he had earned and risk doing it by himself, risk starting his own company, um, and risk losing it all. And he chose the risk. He chose to risk it all, and things worked out for him. He brought his brother in to help him, and his brother, also Mr. Frank, uh, Eugene Frank. Uh, he was a wonderful, great salesman in his own right, and yeah, the Sidney Frank Importing Company started, and over the years, it grew. They got Jägermeister, they got Gekkan Sakis, they got a whole bunch of smaller brands, and yeah, it's by the 90s, it was doing very, very well, and right around year 2000, I came on board, and uh, things things really started just like doubling from there. And I gotta say, although I'm sure it was only complete coincidence, that the years I was there was the best years the company ever had. It says in 1973, his wife died and he started his own company, Sidney Frank Importing Company, where he served as chairman and chief executive officer. The company is based in New Rochelle, New York, where Frank lived. He had a home in Rancho Santa Fe, California as well. Well, that is a very that is a oversimplification. He had homes in many places, but well, he had residences in many places. His main residences was Rancho Santa Fe and New Rochelle, New York. But he had apartments throughout New York City and other residences in Southern California. But, you know, and he was always looking. He had, he had, he was about to purchase a private island. In fact, he may have purchased it. I'm not 100% sure, but there was a private island in the Caribbean that we were about to start building a private golf course on. He was in the market for a property in Hawaii on the Big Island. He was there's quite a few places he was looking. So, because in 1973 he secured the importing rights to Jägermeister, a traditional German digestive. Frank's first big success with his own company was Jack Carden Brandy, a brand he purchased from Seagram in 1979. I didn't even know that was ever considered a success. This Wikipedia page is the first time I've ever heard Jack Carden Brandy was ever considered a successful brand. In the 1980s, Jägermeister became popular for college students in Louisiana, and Frank promoted it heavily, uh, turning a specialty brand developed to help with digestion into mainstream success, wildly drunk in ice cold shots used in jello shooters. That's not at all true. You don't use Jägermeister in jello shooters. And jello shooters are not ice cold shots. Oh my God. In 1997, he developed Grey Goose vodka, made in France by Francois. I have no idea. And it was so successful in promoting it that he sold the brand to Bacardi for $2 billion in June of 2004. The last years of his life, Frank bought the Travel and Savvy and Business Traveler magazine titles for $4 million. Oh yeah, those were just worthless, worthless brands. Um, the last years of his life, he was also working on an energy drink called Crunk Energy Drink with what's his face? Little John. Little John, is that the guy? Yeah, yeah, that was him. Little John. Um, Jesus. And to be honest, the Bacardi sale wasn't just for Grey Goose vodka. There was another brand. There was a gin that was about to be released as an extension to Grey Goose. It would have been an extension to Grey Goose. It would have been called, well, to be honest, I'm not sure that's public information, but it was an extension to the Grey Goose brand, and it would have been delightful, but it was a gin, and you know, gin is not nearly as popular as vodka. But it was enough that Bacardi's like, yeah, we're going to take that too. And then they decided to just kill it rather than compete with themselves, which was probably a smart move. Philanthropy. Frank gave large bonuses to his employees and made a $12 million donation to the Norwich Free Academy in 2005. In October 2005, Frank donated 500,000 pounds sterling and a statue by sculptor Stephen Kettle to Bletchley Park Trust to fund a new science center dedicated to Alan Turing, and as a great supporter of the submarine Spitfire, commissioned a life-size statue of the designer R.J. Mitchell and funded a website dedicated to Mitchell's life. R.J. Mitchell, A Life in Aviation. He gave a donation of $5 million to the New York Medical College of Psychiatry Department, leading to the creation of the Sidney Frank Fellowship, which gives medical students early exposure to the field of psychiatry. His foundation has been a supporter of the Israel Olympic Committee and helped to offer scholarships in several Israeli sports. That was news to me. And in 2004, Frank gave $100 million to his alma mater. Does it count as his alma mater if you only go one term? Brown University, at the time, the largest single contribution in the university's history, and still tied with two other gifts for that distinction. The gift provided for the Sidney E. Frank Scholarship, which funds tuitions for around 130 undergraduate students from low-income families each year. In 2005, Frank donated $5 million to Brown to help with Hurricane Katrina relief efforts. That was basically they were taking college students from colleges that were destroyed by Katrina into Brown, and Brown needed money to, help pay for it. In 2005, Frank donated $5 million to help with relief efforts. In 2006, Brown University named its life sciences building the largest capital project to date after Frank. In recognition of the $20 million gift to support its construction, Frank is the single most generous donor in the university's history. So yeah, they have the Sidney E. Frank Sciences Building. He had already died by that time, unfortunately, but I still got to go up there on his private plane with the other, with many of the executives from New York. That was of all the flights I've had, that was certainly one of the most interesting. I was on the private plane with the CEO, the chairman, the COO, the president of the company, who was also Mr. Frank's nephew, and a couple other really higher up people, and they all had their very fancy cars, because we were all at we went to White Plains private airport, where the richest of the rich people go, and you had your Aston Martin, you had your V12 Mercedes, whatever, you had all these cars, a Mercedes Maybach. You had these cars that were all worth north of $250,000, some well north. And then you had my Jeep. You had my Jeep, my 2002 Jeep Grand Cherokee, but it had the distinction of having custom vanity license plates. And what did my license plates say? RMBR space SID. Remember Sid. And when they lined up the cars to go home that night, after we all got off the plane, it was the Jeep who was in the very front of the line. So all of the CEOs and COOs and presidents and the family, everybody got to see my license plate at the very front, and everybody who those who hadn't known before all gave me a little bit of a, like they all noted it. They said, yeah, that's a good one. They gave me a good old heads up, a pat on the back kind of thing. That was, and to be honest, I was driving around with those plates before the man died, before he had died. Remember Sid. And I wish I would still have those plates, but unfortunately, years later, after I got sick and could no longer afford to pay for a car. There was no point. There was no point in paying for a car that I couldn't drive, although we did pay for it for many years because we didn't know. We didn't know we could give it back early. But yeah, once I had to give back the car, I really, unfortunately, could not keep the plates. So, but I still got pictures. I got pictures. I miss it. But personal life, death, and aftermath. I bet they don't have the slightest idea. Frank married twice. His first wife, Louise Skippy Rosensteel, the daughter of Louis Rosensteel, died in 1973 at the age of 50. They had 2 children, Matthew and Kathy, who was married and divorced. Yeah, he married. Okay. In 1975, Sidney married Marion. Yeah, his second wife, who I also got to know very well, because she was around the whole time we knew him. I knew him for the 10 years that I got to know him. And she was still alive last I checked. And I hope she's doing well. Frank died January 10th, 2006, on a private plane in flight between San Diego, California, and Vancouver, British Columbia, at the age of 86 from heart failure. He was declared dead in San Francisco, California. On his plane were several nurses and medical doctors, as well as a defibrillator, but he could not be revived. And let me tell you, everybody on that plane, they did the best they could. Everybody on that plane, life was better for Mr. Frank being alive. Nobody on that plane wanted to see him die. If there was any way he could have been revived, he had doctors on the plane with him. He had nurses on the plane with him. He was flying to Canada to get an emergency treatment, a surgery to help extend his life, to get, they were trying to get stents put in his heart that was supposed to help. He had failing valves. And this, there's 2 places in the world that had at the time done this stent surgery without having to do open heart surgery, because everybody knew he would not survive open heart surgery. The first place that did it was in Cologne, Germany, and we were supposed to go to Germany over Christmas, and he was supposed to have the surgery done over Christmas. And to be honest, I was a little bit annoyed at first. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm going to have to give up Christmas, because I was supposed to go. I mean, I was one of the people that had to be there. I have to be there. If he's going somewhere, I had to go before him. And then after, and this was still well before Christmas, I was like, you know what, Joe, stop being an idiot. If I have to miss every Christmas for the next decade, I'd be happy to do so, because it would mean the man was still alive, and it would mean that I would still have an incredible job. And, if Mr. Frank was in your corner, um, anything you needed, anything you needed, he would have your back. And I kind of felt stupid for even being annoyed for the slightest moment that I would have to go to Germany for Christmas. And then, as it turned out, and we thought this was great news at the time, it turned out, oh, there's a place in Canada that can do it. So, we'll skip the Germany trip. We'll come back, and this was January 10th. January 10th that we'd be back. We'd go to Canada, and he had to get it done there. He'd fly in on the 10th, get it done on the 11th, spend a couple of days, and he would hopefully be back to California by the middle of January sometime. And so, yeah, we thought this was going to work out for everybody. But unfortunately, they put it off. He put it off. His doctors, I don't know who made the final call, but a little too late. Now, we don't know if he would have survived the Germany operation. We don't know if he even would have survived the flight to Germany. I mean, he survived the flight from New York to California. So, and then California, he ended up not so well to Vancouver, but no telling what might have happened had we done the Germany trip. But had he survived that, would have changed everything. Who knows? Who knows what would have happened had he been around? Could have been a year, could have been a month, could have been years. Who knows? Services were held at Riverside Memorial Chapel. He was buried at the Rosensteel family plot at United Jewish Cemeteries in Cincinnati. His daughter, Kathy Frank Halstead, is currently chairwoman of the Sidney Frank Importing Company. She is also an artist and co-founder of the Tippett Rise Art Center in Montana. Well, I gotta tell you, this is a little out of date. The Sidney Frank Importing Company no longer exists. It was purchased by Jägermeister, the German company, out of Wolfenbüttel, Germany. Jägermeister bought the entire company, and Kathy Frank is no longer an officer in the Jägermeister owned company. Well, they added that line to the end of the paragraph, but they didn't go up and edit. I guess I could edit it, but I won't. Sidney Frank Importing Company, SFIC, changed its name to Mass Jägermeister US after its takeover by the German herbal liqueur producer in 2015. Yeah. So that is who Sidney E. Frank is. Somebody asked. Who asked? Schwario. Schwario asked, who is Sidney E. Frank? Well, there you go, Schwario. That's who he is. Schwario says, Kapla to us all. Kapla, bird, and hail chat. 47 Yorktown says, hello, young sir. Hello, 47. Gorilla's Random Thought says, Kapla. And, oh, I ate the last Cheeto. Oh, I definitely said we were past this. Oh, Dan Ben says, does this have something to do with Frank Sinatra? That's where I went on the tangent. No, nothing to do with Frank Sinatra. Dan Ben says cheese puffs. Bradley Briggs says zup y'all, zup Bradley. Sean Carter says hail all, hail to Sean. Schwario says volume is low. Shit, I'm so sorry, Schwario. I thought it was high. It looks high. I mean, the way those red lines are jumping up. Dan Ben says, yeah, the volume may be low. Well, I wish I had known that. I wish I had known that before I spoke. At length, Jedi Bill says, hello, Words and Pictures. Words and Pictures is saying hi to Bill. Let me see, can I? Oh my God, I could have adjusted. I hope, does that help? Does that help the audio? Son of a bitch. Words and Pictures says, Kapla Vertebrae, good to be here. Good to hear you. Jedi Bill says hello to LDG and hello to Yvette. Is Yvette here? I did not see Yvette. Welcome, Yvette. The Random Menace says greetings to Jedi Bill. Sci-Fi Mombi puts up some live long and prospers. Dr. Alex, Kapla, Dr. Alex. Says Kapla Vertebrae 5. Busy slaving away at video editing. At the old video editing. Kapla, Dr. Alex. Hope it's doing well. Jedi Bill says hello to Sci-Fi Mombi. Gorilla says, Bird, can you turn your mic up? Son of a bitch. Dan Ben says, why are you remembering it today? Today was his birthday. Today would have been his 104th birthday. Dan Ben says, I saw something recently on BBC News saying there was New York City floods. Yes, Dan Ben, last week, over the weekend, this past weekend, there was some heavy flooding in New York City. That would include my basement. Mama Pray was quite busy trying to clean up some floodwaters. Jedi Bill says hello to Dr. Alex. Hope all is well with him. Jedi Bill says Kapla to Dan Ben and hail to Gorillas. Dr. Alex says greetings. Dr. Alex says the moral of this story, never fly out of a whale's vagina. Never fly out of San Diego. Now, San Diego is actually a pretty good airport. Never fly into or over San Francisco. In fact, avoid San Francisco at all costs. Gorilla says hey to Bill. Sci-Fi Mombi says hello to Jedi Bill. Thank you so much. I think that's what it means, for subscribing to my channel. Jedi Bill says you're very welcome. The Sci-Fi Mombi. Hey guys, subscribe to Sci-Fi Mombi. Let's Sci-Fi Mombi. It is time that you become a moderator so that you can put links to your channel in the chat. But here's a link to Sci-Fi Mombi's channel so you guys can subscribe. Stan Lee says God knows why. Luckily, I missed out on beer pong, says Stan Lee, and mostly missed the Jaeger craze. We had an occasional Goldschlager. Jägermeister is far superior to that sugar. It's just pure sugar, Goldschlager. Dan Ben says, now I've heard of Grey Goose vodka. Well, Grey Goose is a good vodka. Stanley says, when I was in university, beer pong hadn't even been invented yet. White Swan Gin. No, it was actually going to be called Blue Goose. Blue Goose Gin. Stanley says, I made the mistake of swiping gin from a parent's liquor cabinet. Big mistake. Yeah, it's quite a bit different than vodka. He says, I should have grabbed anything else. Gin tastes like crap. It turned me off it for years. And he says, I think it was because it was the bottle I bought had been there the longest, wouldn't be missed, and I learned why it had never been finished. Well, yeah. Stanley says, when did they change their school slogan to what can Brown do for you? I don't think that's quite the school slogan. Dan Ben says, to quote Lisa Simpson, no, not Brown, Brown, Brown. Yeah, Brown doesn't get the same respect as the rest of the Ivy League. And I'll be honest, after going to Brown and watching Brown students, I don't think they deserve a whole lot of respect. But that's just me. Stanley says, my other car is a Bentley. Crow says, Kapla, what did I miss? I was just talking about Mr. Frank. Are you talking about your boss? Yes, Kronos, I was. I did not taste his food. Well, I mean, sometimes he would ask us to taste it, and we would feel weird to not do it, but I didn't do it it's not like I was paid to taste his food. He had chefs for that. Was he wearing compression socks? Probably. Stanley says, and what's one Christmas? Not like he even had kids. That's true. But, I still like spending Christmas with family. Kronos' kids are jerks. I used to be one. Jedi Bill says, hail, brother warrior, Kronos. Kronos says, hey to Jedi. Kronos says, dang Germans take over everything. And Kronos says, this was a tangent. It was a tangent. 54.5 Axis Radio says, we did try, Kronos. Kronos says, hey to 54. Kyle Cullen with a live long and prosper. 54.5 Access is hello to Kronos. Sean Carter says, volume sounds okay to me. Dan Ben says, well, I have YouTube on my TV screen and the volume was low, so I just turned it up more. So I did hear your talking and good volume. Kronos says, sounded okay until you just messed with it. Hakeem says it sounds good to him. Kronos is just kidding, 5x5. Oh, and that means okay. LDG, free the net, says OMG. Kronos is vertebrae 5. Oh, and okay. I mean, all right. Kronos is hey to Akeem. The Random Menace says, you are the only person I know who is doing memorial services to an employer. Well, that's unfortunate for you, Random Menace. Since if they had the employer I had, more people would be doing it. And you would probably have gotten more free stuff, free booze, and point of sale material. LDG says, sorry I'm late. Damn time flew today. Captain Phantom Nerds says hello to Dr. Alex. Yvette says good evening, Bird and everyone. Just finished up work. Hope I didn't miss anything important. Captain Phantom Nerd says hey to Kronos. Sci-Fi Mombi is honored. You are most welcome. Kronos says space whales do eat in hyperspace. And Sci-Fi Mombi uses the thank you TYSVVM. Thank you so very much, perhaps. Chrono says, hey, Mombi. Hey to Yvette. Chrono says, what a waste of gold. Yeah, golden schlaga. That real gold in there. It's ridiculous. Jedi Bill says, hello to Captain Phantom Nerd. I hope you are doing well. I mean, you're supposed to drink actual gold, actual pieces of gold. They're supposed to pass through your digestive tract and come out in your poop. You're supposed to poop gold. Oh my God, your gold is supposed to go into your poop and literally get floated down the sewers to some type of sewer treatment center where maybe somebody will have to physically go and remove the gold. That is disgusting. I would listen. I'm not a big fan of government telling people what they can and can't do. But since government already tells people what ingredients can and can't be in food,
It's a fake.
I would totally say, let them say, you can't put gold in food. It's stupid. And Yvette with a 2-pound sterling super chat. Thank you, Yvette. Fingers crossed for kissing Dax for you all. But unfortunately for Yvette, it's a fake. It's a fake. I am so sorry. Daniel's Hot Topics is in the house. Says hi, Bird. Chronos says that UPS. Yes, that's UPS. What can Brown do for you? Chronos says food tasters can have good and or really bad job. And Chronos says he tangents all the time. Gorilla's Random Thoughts says my volume is maxed out. I'm sorry to hear that. So is mine now. Chronos says, what? Jedi Bill says, well, I've been going through some rough times, but who isn't these days? I am doing very best to get through them, the Captain Phantom Nerd. The Random Menace says, Jaeger is not for me. It could be. You just need to make it colder. The colder it is, the easier it is to drink. Kronos says Yvette is on a mission. Sci-Fi Mombi says, hey to Kronos. Kronos says some peeps crap does smell better than others, apparently. Yvette says, yo, Slug, you missed a film about you yesterday on Mr. Londell's channel. That's right. Yesterday, Mr. Londell did Kronos Vampire Hunter or something. Yvette, yeah. Dan Van says there are celebrities who buy that expensive burger with the gold flakes in it. And again, I would say that that's stupid and we shouldn't be putting gold in our food. Chrono says, Yvette, I realize that, my bad. Yvette says, of course, it's a fake. And Chrono says, it's a steak. And Chrono says, is anyone here a master hunter. Jägermeister, meaning hunter master or hunt master. And not to be confused with Mama Frey's favorite adult alcoholic beverage, Baron Jaeger, which means bear hunter, but is honey liqueur. Okay. Well, that said, let us go. Let us go back to web browser, and it is October 2nd, besides Sidney E. Frank's birthday. It's also the International Day of Nonviolence, Guardian Angels Day, Labor Day, that's Labor Day in Australia, National Child Health Day. Family income is a major factor in the health of children, both physically and mentally. National Consignment Day, for everyone that likes to be on trend, still live green. This is a day for you. It's National Custodian Day. Custodians are our first line of defense in the war on germs and are often not thanked. So go out and thank a custodian today. National Fried Scallops Day. Sun, sand, and scallops are beckoning us all for an excellent foodie experience. I always forget, are scallops seafood or onions? Scallop potatoes? Are they some type of, I forget. National Michelle Day. There you go. Michelle is the feminine, elegant name for spiritual meaning derived from the Hebrew Michael. Name Your Car Day. It is National Name Your Car Day. Name your little red Corvette Swifty and see what happens. See, this is why I named my Jeep Jeepy. Cheapy. All my Jeeps had the same name, Jeepy. No, one was named Ted. I'm kidding. They were all named Jeep. National Produce Misting Day. If you love fresh produce, then National Produce Misting Day is for you. It's also National Report Long-Term Acute Care Hospital Fraud Day. What the fuck? It is way too long of a day. National Report Long-Term Acute Care Hospital Fraud Day. That's a fucking typo or something. This National Report Long-Term Acute Care Hospital Fraud Day. Join the battle against Medicare fraud. It's World Architecture Day. Today we appreciate the great architectural works of the ancient and modern worlds. And finally, the cutest day, World Farm Animals Day. On World Farm Animals Day, we secure the rights of all farm animals. Of course, they only show a picture of some little lambs. The truth is, many farm animals are ugly and have no rights, nor would we want them to. And Chrono says, scallops are a shellfish. That's what, so scallion. I always confuse scallions and scallops. Scallions are an onion, scallops are a shellfish. Don't hug a custodian day, says Kronos. Jeepers are cars. Jeeps are cars. Yes, Kronos. A Jeepy the Jeep. How original. Kronos is 47 again. Sci-Fi Mombi says that's this is kind of an oxymoron. I work in the medical insurance industry. Dan Van says, why are we celebrating hospital fraud? I guess we're celebrating turning in hospital fraud. Dan Van, Kronos says tasty farm animals. Martin Devon says Gok has rights too. Kronos says get in my belly. Sci-Fi Mombi says Dan Ben, I'm thinking to get everyone to help stop Medicare fraud. Just a dumb name for the day. Yes, yes, they are. And Kronos says scallions are good too. Scallions I enjoy. I don't know about scallops. Dan Ben says Sci-Fi Mombi, does that have a lot of forms and paperwork? Yes. Sean Carter says onions listening to Tupac Shakur are rep scallions. Kronos says hey to Martin. The random menace of scallops are shellfish. Kronos says Sean Carter says, oh, that was bad. Sean Carter is smiling at Kronos. And better than Snoop Derp, says Kronos. Yeah. Okay, let's see what's going on. Anything going on in the news today? Trump civil fraud trial in New York begins. Okay. Representative Gates concedes McCarthy probably can survive a first vote to out him. Newsom names LaPonza Butler to Feinstein Senate seat. Okay. See, all the conspiracy theorists were telling me they were going to name Harris to the Senate seat and put in somebody new as VP, but I guess not. Amber Alert. A 9-year-old kid disappears at a lake with a family, so keep an eye out on that. Rikers watchdog wins back unfettered access to live video from New York City jails. New York City air quality impacted again by Canadian wildfires for days. Son of a bitch. You guys didn't get rid of their fucking wildfires yet? We had one nice day today. Excitement for Rockstar's GTA 6 reveal is sending fans to the moon. No, it's not. Microsoft CEO says Google agreements with Apple unfairly harmed Bing. Nothing could unfairly harm Bing. Nobody likes Bing. Tropical storm Philippe expected to become a hurricane. What do we got? Pope Francis softens Vatican's ban on blessing gay couples. Slovakia election winner Robert Fico opposes aid to Ukraine. Oh no, what's going on in Slovakia? Worry and concern follow pro-Kremlin candidate's victory in Slovakia election. Oh no. As Slovakia's election winner, Robert Fico begins talks to establish a coalition government. Officials in the European Union and NATO, along with people throughout Slovakia's civil society, are worried about how Fico's pro-Russian, anti-American party may govern. Oh no, Random Menace, do you need us to get you out of there? Random Menace. He's already. The Random Menace says Bing is good for downloading Chrome. Absolutely. Fico, who has previously served twice as prime minister, campaigned on ceasing all military support for Ukraine with the slogan, "Not a single round," becoming a popular refrain of his party. He repeatedly urged Kyiv to begin peace negotiations with Moscow and claimed the United States played a role in starting the war. Fico's pledge to stop all military aid to Ukraine, however, may lack any real-world impact, as observers say Slovakia has already exhausted much of its weaponry held by helping Ukraine over the past 2 years. After his party victory on Sunday, 23% of the vote. How is that a victory? Fico retained his promise not to send any more military to aid Ukraine, but said he continues to support humanitarian and reconstruction. He called on Ukraine to enter peace talks, a request that's also been made by Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban. Orban congratulated Fico on his party's win via social media platform X, formerly known as Twitter, posting in English, "Guess who's back?" and adding, "It's always good to work together with another patron." Cracks are beginning to show in the European Union's bedrock of democratic principles. The European Union has been watching developments in Slovakia closely, worried that after democratic declines in Hungary, another of its Eastern European members will pursue policies that run against the bloc's principles. And depending on how the elections in Poland work out, we will have possibly 3 countries in the region where democratic checks and balances would be disturbed and where policies typical for illiberal democracies would be adopted. And that would showcase a democratic decline in the region, says Katrina Klingova. Klingova. Almost Klingon. Klingova, senior research fellow at the Center for Democracy and Resilience at the Global Sec Policy Institute in Bratislava, the Slovak capital. They're building the train now. They're building it now in Bratislava. Kronos says anything with global in it makes me take pause. Yeah, that's probably a smart thing. Hey, Orville Nation. Orville Nation is here. Poland's parliamentary elections are scheduled to take place on October 15th. Hungary is already skeptical of EU and NATO membership for Ukraine. Fico and his smear colleagues are critics of non-governmental organizations that operate in Slovakia, commonly referring to them as foreign agents. I wonder if I would get classified as a foreign agent. Okay. Very interesting. I had no idea that was going on right over there in Slovakia. Apple confirms that a bug in some apps are causing iPhone 15 models to overheat. Here's how much a Chicago bar spent after promising to pay everyone's bar tabs if ... If the Bears lost. Oh yeah. Not a good promise to make. Northside Chicago Bear made an expensive bet on the Chicago Bears that proved costly, but there was one surprise the bar's owners didn't expect. The owner of Claude Ring Pub in the Lincoln Square neighborhood promised a Bears win or free drinks for all. And for a while, it appears the Bears could take home their first win. The bar would be spared. But that all changed in the second half of the game when the team blew a 21-point lead and ended in disastrous defeat. Bar owner Chris Jackson said he made the bet to give people a reason to spend a beautiful day indoors and reason to feel good if the Bears lost. In the end, Jackson estimated the bet cost him around $5,000, but what he didn't realize was how much the team's early promise would impact the drinking habits. As part of the deal, tabs closed at the conclusion of the third quarter. For much of that lead up to that, the Bears were winning and at one point even dominating the game. That tamed the crowd. Sci-Fi Mombi has become a Karogan orphan. Welcome to the channel. Kapla, Sci-Fi Mombi. Member-only streams. Member-only streams are the second Tuesday of the month. So let's see, what's today? October 10th, this month, October 10th, be the members only stream. So, okay. So people thought the Bears were going to win. They didn't drink as much. Let's see what else we got. Jonathan Frakes names his Dreamcast for Star Trek Legacy. Yeah, but that doesn't mean anything. Star Trek Lower Deck Security Chief shrines in special Star Trek Day of Blood prequel. The hell is that? Microsoft CEO testifies that Google will expand search dominance with AI. Okay. So what? Star Trek Lower Deck Security Chief shines in special Star Trek Day of Blood prequel. Shax's best day sees gruff USS Cerritos officer in full tilt battle action. What is this, a comic book? Yes, it is. It is. Okay. Stupid waste of time. Are there any dear bops? There are not. There are no Dear Bops today. Today, a day that will live in infamy. This was our last Dear Bop from last week. Did I see any of the Saw movies? I have to move this to the archive. So no Dear Bops. No Dear Bops for today. Okay, well, I guess we will end today with Wordle. Today's Wordle, guys. Put in a first person, put in a 5-letter word. I will start the Wordle with that. Yes, Gorilla, Wordle time. Famous bearer, Kapla, famous bearer. Says, Bird, can you show yourself? I missed you on live. I can't, famous bearer, right now. I am not dressed appropriately for a live stream. I will do my best. I'll do my best for next time. I'm sorry. Space. Captain Fandom Nerd puts in space. I will start with space. And we got an E in the wrong place. Let's try something else, something with an E in the middle. Let's try M E M E Melot. MELOT. That's not a word. Shit. Can't do A. Meows. And we don't want S was already used. So we don't want to do that. Let's do T-O no. H-O-M homie. H-O-M-E-Y. Okay, we got a Y in the right space. And we got an M and an E, but in the wrong place. So M-E-E, meaty, meaty? No, that's not a word. Messy? No, no S's. Metty? Petty? Metty? No, not a word. Melly? Merry. Merry. Like Merry Christmas. Oh, there it is. Merry. Merry Christmas. It's a little early to be merry, but we take it. Captain Inventor said space. Gorilla wanted titty. Chronos said vulva. Gorilla says for Mr. Frank. Wordle. Well, I don't know how to do Wordle for Mr. Frank. Ingredia says pinch. Bradley Briggs said audio. Sorry, we had passed it at that point. Dan Ben says, so you keep all the Dear Bops after reading them? Generally, yes. I keep them in an archive. Chrono says, hey to Ingredia. Random Menace wanted Meaty. Chrono says, hey to Briggs. Sci-Fi Mombi is shocked. Stan Lee says, Bird, we DPM. Web DPM. Web DPM. Cody Guy wanted me to use Trump. Stanley says, we don't mind. Kronos says, hey to Cody. Kronos yells, steak. Stanley says, melon. Kronos says, never mind. All good, Bird, says Famous Bear. Sorry about that. The Random Menace says, it is a curse knowing the solution before everybody. Mamo Pray. Mamo Pray knows how you feel. Sean Carter says, Sci-Fi Mombi, it's nail biting watching him when I know the word. Kronos lols. Cody Guy lols. Cody says, isn't it horny? Stan Lee says, the Random Menace, it's hard being so much smarter than everyone else. Kronos says, I didn't think homie was a word. Oh, it's like homie don't play that. What do you mean no? Stan Lee says money. Stanley says, oh, never mind. Sci-Fi Mombi says, I was reacting to the clothing issue more than the Wordle. Stanley says, Emery. Kronos yells, cheater. Hakeem says, using the word homie gives you street creds. Exactly. Gorilla's Random Thoughts says, can we get them, Birdo Prey 5, song later? Can we get them, Birdo Prey 5, song later Wordle? I don't know, Wordle song? This is the first I'm hearing of a Wordle song. I did not cheat. Cody Guy says, Hakeem does it. Random Menace is laughing at Stan Lee. Emery. And Hakeem says, yes, lol, yes, Bird. Earn about 10 credits for that one. Yeah, lol, yes, Bird. Earn about 10 credits. Using the word only gives you street cred. I don't know. I feel like something has gone over my head. But it is what it is. Anyway, guys, I think we will call it a stream for today. I do miss my old days. The time at Sidney Frank Importing. I kind of forgot how today was going to feel once I started talking about it. I thought we hit a spot where it's like it had been enough time, but no, I guess it hasn't been 20 years just yet. 20 years is about when 9/11 finally stopped having the feel that it used to. And we're still not out 20 years yet from Mr. Frank's passing. Gonna be a few more years, I suspect, before I can move on. Gorilla's random thoughts is effing gloves. Kronos with Bird of 5. Joseph could have been feeding you tips from the future. He could have.
Start humming.
Mama Price is.
Not start humming or singing.
He did.
It's beginning to look.
He did not. He did not start humming or singing. It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas.
I held back.
He held back. Kronos is Bird of 5. Yeah. Gorilla's random thoughts is the Frank Sinatra sounding Bird of 5 song. Oh, Bed Life. Bed Life. Unfortunately, if I put it on, then the stream will get hit, and I already have one stream fighting the bots, and we'll have to. It hasn't been 30 days yet, so they've yet to give me an answer. They're certainly not going to do it early because why would they? Sean Carter says, to Sci-Fi Mombi. Kronos reminds us the tip counts. And Kronos is no Mama Pray tale. Do you have one, Mama Pray?
No, not a tale, but I could share my thoughts of the day.
You can share your thoughts of the day, Mama Pray. Okay, Kronos. Mama Pray will share her thoughts with you.
Hi, everyone. Okay. Hi, Kronos. You're going to be sorry that you asked for this. I've been, well, after the last few days of cleaning up the flood mess in the basement, excuse me, and spraying everything with bleach and all that stuff, I've told, for those of you that have been around for a while, I've mentioned that I have a sister and a brother in Florida and a stepbrother. So, but I'm talking now about my sister and my brother. My sister last week, maybe the week before, was moved to an assisted living facility. I've seen pictures of it. It's a gorgeous place. Her son spared no expense in getting her into this place. But it's still a facility, and they have rules, and you have to follow them. She is physically able. She walks on her own. She doesn't use a cane or a walker or anything. But she's 88 years old. She's getting forgetful. Not sure what each medication she takes is for, when to take it, things like that. She could use the help. She had a person living with her, but she wasn't happy. So they're trying this place, and she seems to be happier. I mean, let's face it, there's more to do. There are people around. They have a dining room, like a five-star restaurant, and she's accepting of it. I mean, her children can come visit, and anybody can come visit. And if you have a guest that comes while they're serving meals, they serve the guest also, free of charge. That's probably the only thing free of charge, but anyway. So she's there. Her life has changed, and my life to the point of we used to talk every couple of days. I knew what time to call her, or she would call me, and anyway, I missed that. But now my brother, who was living basically in the same complex as she was and needed help in certain things. She isn't there anymore. The woman that was helping her also helped my brother, and of course they're gone, so he's there by himself. And he also is having issues with his memory, maybe even more so than my sister. Well, I call him. I called him the other day. He told me he had fallen in the bathroom, but he fell onto his walker. He was lucky he didn't hit his head on the tub. So I said, "Well, how are you?" What? He said, "No, I'm bruised and I got a few cuts, but it's okay. I'll be all right." And he said, "I have Band-Aids all over." So I said, "No, no, no. Don't use Band-Aids. There are other things." I said, "The Band-Aids are only going to rip your skin when you pull them off." So I said, "Okay, I'll send you what you need." And I hung up with him and I went to Amazon and bandages and wraps to wrap and whatever else, gauze pads, things that he could take care of his own cuts. Well, my nephew, who owns the condo that he lives in, stopped by this morning. My nephew is almost my age, probably older than almost everybody out there that I'm speaking to. And he went by to visit my brother, and he wasn't answering the door. He let himself in, and unfortunately, my brother was stuck in the bathroom, sitting on the bowl, could not get himself up. He apparently was delirious. He wasn't making sense. We have no idea how long he had been stuck there. And his phone was in the living room. So we don't know, really don't know. My nephew tried to get him up, but as he said, he says he couldn't even assist in lifting himself up. He had to call an ambulance. And right now, he's in the hospital. They admitted him mostly because he, not so much of physical hurt, but of mental capacity. He wasn't making any sense of anything. So I don't know what's going to be with him. And as I said to Bird before, I said, as tired as I got cleaning up the basement after the flood the last few days, I am more mentally exhausted today. I was on the phone with actually two of my nephews, my sister's son, who is the one that lives there in Florida, and my brother's son, who lives here in New York, and trying to figure out. Though his son would be the next of kin and most likely the one to be, what do you call that, responsible for my brother's care. The nurse from the hospital said, "It doesn't necessarily have to be you." She said that to his son. It could be any family member or any friend. If you can't do it, if you tell us you can't do it, So that's what it looks like, is that his son he's here in New York. He can't really make a decision for his father in Florida because, I mean, as much as you're told by a nurse, a doctor, you're not seeing him. So I pretty much decided that the nephew that's in Florida that sees him the most is, if necessary, going to be the one in charge of his medical care. And I just feel so lost. I feel so bad for both of them, but for my brother more than anything. And for me, these were like my best two connections to the outside world. I'm scared. for them. And I'm lonely for me. And I don't want to get like this and then make Bird feel bad. So I think somebody should have a gigantic party. Have a big YouTube party. And let me know how much fun you're having. Thanks for listening, guys. Say a prayer for my brother or send wishes, whatever you believe in. And I have one last deed to do today for the flood. It is Monday. Garbage needs to go to the curb. I don't want to tell you how many bags I have and how heavy they are. But I have a hand truck. So I'm going to put everything on the hand truck one at a time and wheel them the 20 feet to the curb. And then I'm going to relax. So, guys, have a good night. And thank you for listening to my sad stuff.
Famous Vera says, hi, Mom. Kronos is sorry for your brother.
Thank you.
Pray.
Thank you.
And we love you, Mom.
Thank you. I love you guys. You really do make my day. Even when I don't speak, I listen to at least half the conversation birds have. And you have no idea when he does Wordle, I sit here biting my tongue because I won't give him a hint. He don't want a hint. I don't want to ruin it for him. But today I really almost did start humming.
Sci-Fi Mombi says, praying for your brother, Mom. Pray.
Thank you.
Akeem says, so sorry to hear that. He will be in my prayer.
Thank you, really. I just hope like he wakes up tomorrow and his mind is back to normal again. It has happened before. It could have just been taking the wrong medication or combination of medications. But hopefully after this, he will get some kind of help at home, if not maybe a rehab center for a while to get his, medication and everything straightened out. And thank you guys, really. I'm turning it back over to Bird. Have a good evening. I almost said have a good weekend. Yeah, I'm not all with it either. Have a good week.
Thank you, Mama Pray.
Thank you.
And thank you guys for listening and giving Mama Pray your wishes. And, yeah, that's what we've been dealing with today. If I say we, it's been Mama Pray mostly because she's the one everybody calls in the family. And Crows and Bird can cheat well on his own. I could, but I don't. With that, guys, thank you all for listening. I appreciate it very much. We're going to call it a night here. Kapla all, Bird out.